Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another engaging conversation, perhaps to try and understand the inside story. What happens when suddenly an elected leader, a loved leader, someone who's been at the seat of power for a long time, on the back of what quote unquote student uprising, is dislodged, forced out of the country, and her party, which has been perhaps since the bedrock of the inception of the country itself in 1971, today finds itself banned. Its leader and leaders all having to flee the country because they are targeted. There is a target on their head. In front of me is someone who's showing great courage to sit down and have a chat with us. He's the president of the student body that represents and perhaps the offshoot of the Awami League. Saddam Hussain, president of the Chhatra League, with us. Namaste.
Thank you for connecting me.
Thank you, Saddam, and thank you for showing the courage to sit down and have a chat with us. Tell us something. Let's go back a little to that day and perhaps the build up to that. What was going through your mind, and did you anticipate something like this will happen?
There is a popular demand regarding quota abolishment in government job system in Bangladesh, and it is actually abolished by Awami League government by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in 2018, when there was another that quota reformation movement, and Awami League that fulfilled the demand of the students actually. And this time again, this issue came by a verdict of the High Court division actually. And this time also Awami League government, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina responded properly, because there is a separation between executive and the judiciary also. And government said many times that we are on the student side. This is our decision that is actually changed by the court. So we will have our legal fight. Our attorney generals will fight. So this was actually the position of the government. And as a students organization, Bangladesh Students League, that this is the historic organization who is lead in the language movement, who is lead in the independence movement. Bangladesh Students League sacrificed their lives for the independence, for the flag of Bangladesh, and it is one of the worst victim of the war crimes during the liberation war. And after independence movement, we fight for democratic movements, struggles against the military rules, and also fight for human empowerment, for democratic values, for establishing secularism. And this, as per that with the view of our historic struggle, Bangladesh Students League was on the student side also. We urge the government that there must be the quota reform, and the High Court the verdict by the High Court division is not protecting the rights of the students. We that we arranged rallies, we arranged assemblies, we protested. We arranged policy advocacy programs like door-to-door campaign to the students, so that what is their view of the quota reformations. We also urge them to have their proposals to us. So, and this was the situation actually in the initial stage. And that at one point in 11 July 2024, actually the verdict given by the High Court division, it was given a status quo by the appellate division. That means the problem is solved actually on 11th July. There is no more quota in Bangladesh in 11th July. So students' demand has been fulfilled. The political environment, campus landscape was also peaceful, and government and as a party, Awami League and Bangladesh Students League responded properly. And after that, that the main thing was that the fulfilling the demands of the students wasn't the priority of some political groups, some fundamental groups, some extremist groups actually. So instead of having a happy ending of the movement, when the students' demand has been fulfilled, they are trying to, that they are trying to enlarge the movement, they are trying to continue the movement, they are trying to create chaotic situation inside the campus, so that they can ultimately execute their killing missions and blaming the government, and they will take the advantage of the political situation, and using backdoor politics they will topple the government. So this was their ultimate goal, and they ultimately conspired for this. They arrange the killing groups, fundamental groups, extremist groups to execute their mission. And by these actually August 5 evenings happened.
At what point in time, as a student leader, did you think there is something wrong on ground? Was there any point where you thought, ये तो कुछ गंदगोल, कुछ गड़बड़ हो रहा है, something wrong?
We you know that as a student leader, you know that we can understand the situation. We know the views of the students. Actually, the general students was happy with this situation about the legal steps taken by the government, by the judiciary, and also government political party, Awami League and Students League. But when there is no happy ending, when we were seeing that they were trying to manipulate the situation, they are trying to organize their armed cadres, they are, you know, that they are managing propaganda campaigns against the government, and they are from the first, from, you know, there are cover-up missions. It was became clear for us when they are saying that there need a parliamentary session, there need a parliamentary act regarding these issues. So ultimately, their you know that their goal was different. It was we understand that. We also urge the students to remain cool, to remain confident to the government, and so that no one can use the students for their own political agenda. Just using the student as a political tool. So you know that on 15 July, 16 July, they deteriorated the situation, and at that time, the most in the course of this time, the main role was played by Islami Chhatra Shibir, you know, that students' organization of Jamaat-e-Islam, who is involved in the war crimes during the liberation war. So this they organized the movement in a different way. They you know that they executed their killing missions, and they were with the students. They were inside the students, and they used sometimes sniper rifles from a you know that from a side. They killed the students, and by doing this, you know that they are trying to manipulate the emotions of the students.
So you are saying that the Islami Chhatra Shibir or the Jamaat-e-Islami students wing actually singled out students and killed them using sniper rifles and shots and all.
Obviously, not only Islamic
But
Chhatra
the
Shibir.
blame is that it was the Chhatra League that was violent. The allegation is it was a Chhatra League that used brute force against the students and violently tried to press them into submitting to the writ. How true or false is that?
It was actually baseless, and I can assure you regarding these issues. I already mentioned the stance of Bangladesh Students League, actually. And if you, not from our perspective also, if you you know that neutrally, objectively evaluate the situation and cross-check their versions of the movement, they said the leaders of the anti-discrimination movement, so-called, they said that if they didn't kill foolish, if they did not loot the police stations, take the guns, and if they did not, you know, that in attacking position, violent position, this revolution, as per their language, cannot be held actually. They themselves says that they are involved in the attack on the government positions, government buildings, police stations. They are saying this sort of things many times. And another important thing, it is, you know, that it is crystal clear. We can prove that on the international community also. You know that after 5 August, this Yunus government, this illegal, illegitimate Yunus government, they took a decision. From the events of 15 July to 15 August, whatever happened in this time, killings, another crimes, shooting, this cannot be, you know, that who are on the movement, on the side of the so-called anti-discrimination platform, they cannot be come under any sort of law. There cannot be any sort of investigation done against them. State gives indemnity to those, because they said that there shouldn't be any sort of investigation. Police cannot question this. It is a law of the Yunus actually. So actually they know that they are the criminals, they are the killers, and that's why they have to, you know, that they have to take this sort of steps. If they believes in fair trial, if they believes in neutral investigation, so why is this actually? You can do investigation, you can do whatever you think, you can cross check the facts actually. And you know, another interesting matter is just few days ago, more than many cases are you know that unfolding right now. That sniper rifles is being taken from the from the people who involved in the movements. And another thing is we can prove that after 5 August, who are previously convicted of different terrorist attacks, different fundamental attacks, who are involved in Chhatra Shibir, Hizbut Tahrir, Ansarullah Bangla team, who are outlawed by our domestic law and also in different countries of the world. So they also, that the government took different initiatives. They got bail, they got out of jail, out of prison, and they are, that they are doing their political works right now. Every cases against them was lifted. So this is the actual scenario. And Bangladesh Student League, that Bangladesh Student League was a victim in a sense. That I already mentioned what were the steps of Bangladesh Students League. And also, just for avoiding any sort of disturbance, just for avoiding any sort of conflict, Bangladesh Students League took all sort of steps when the government close the educational institutions for just avoiding the turbulence, for just avoiding any sort of collision. Our Bangladesh Students League, as a responsible political or student organization, that we followed the law. When there was curfew, when there was different sort of steps by the law enforcing agencies, we took steps as per the situation. And that one of the leading newspaper of Bangladesh is Pratham Alo, Daily Pratham Alo. They at the time reported one event, that how the situation actually happened, how the collision, how the disturbance, how the campus violence actually happened. And or on that report they mentioned that the so-called agitators, they that influence the situation, they instigate the situation, and they were the first attacker actually. And after that, after 5 August, that report also edited actually, because government narrative is the only narrative right now in Bangladesh.
What happened with you? How long were you there before you had to leave Bangladesh? What happened, say, after the 5th of August? Say, or let's talk through the time when Sheikh Hasina ji had to flee the country, leave the country. What happened there? And has she officially resigned?
No, she officially never resigned actually. And that there is no term such like interim government in our constitution, in our law, or not only in Bangladesh, in any other democratic country. You cannot see such sort of government actually. There is no legal basis, no constitutional validity, no political mandate, no democratic verdict of this government actually. That there was attack to our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's life actually, and it is a blessing for the people of Bangladesh that her life has been secured, and she is now the that the symbol of the resilience, symbol of the resistance, symbol of democracy, and just for her life, that people are still dreaming.
What do you mean by her life was saved by just a few minutes?
Yeah, it's true. That not only this time, she was previously attacked 20 times. There were grenade attacks by the BNP government and using the all state ministries, home ministries, their political parties. And there were several times attacks on Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She led a movement against the military dictatorship. She was that one of the target of the international terrorist group, because she was championing human rights, she was championing liberal values, she was championing women empowerment. So she was always the target of the fundamental groups, international terrorist organizations, anti-liberation forces, and many times.
No, in this case, you say that her life was saved but just by a few minutes because she was able to leave the country. Why do you say that?
That if you evaluate the situation from 1st August to 5th August, there was, the curfew, there was restrictions regarding your movement, and, the prime focus of Sheikh Hasina was people, not power. And she always directed to the government and also directed to the party activists to obey the law, to obey the rule, so that no one can take advantage of the situation actually. She never wanted any sort of bloodshed in Bangladesh. So, that from 1st August, 5th August, when other so-called political parties or opposition political parties backed terrorist groups, ISI-based terrorist organizations who were involving in different sort of networks inside Bangladesh, they were throwing programs, they are trying to toppling the government, they are using their inside outside networks. And at that time, that as a party leader, as the chief of the government, she directed to just be peaceful, just to remain in home as per the situation. So Awami League, that Awami League and Bangladesh Student League has many sort of programs, many sort of rallies, protested. All political programs actually postponed on that day. And you know that when 5th August come, the day before 5th August, 4th August, Awami League postponed the program just for that avoiding the any sort of disturbance. And after that, the groups mainly backed by fundamental Islamist terrorist groups and other opposing political parties, they created a situation, and their main goal was that their main goal was that risking the life of of Sheikh Hasina, actually taking her life. So that's their goal, and that
So you feel
it is a blessing that she is still alive.
so she was just able to narrowly escape. You believe that in that mob, in that crowd that unfolded on the streets, their eventual target was to invade and perhaps somewhere attack
That
the
was
prime
that
minister?
was their agenda. That was their goal. That was their focus, and they had planned for this situation. They also openly declared many times. There are many that documents, quotes of their they were for it actually, and it is the blessings for our government, our people of Bangladesh, that she is still alive.
Okay, tell me one thing, Saddam, if I may ask you. Post this entire 5th of August, there seemed to be a concerted attempt at targeting minorities. Yes, there was political opposition, and Awami League cadre, Chhatra League cadre were being targeted. But there was this entire, it looked like a pogrom against Hindus, Christians, Buddhists. Is that true, false? Because the Yunus government said, no, we were only attacking Awami League supporters. But why attack temples? Why desecrate shrines? Why attack stupas and churches? Why did all of that happen?
That this is actually state-sponsored terrorism. Government of Yunus actually encouraged the situation, encouraged attacks. And they managed to do this actually by by encouraging the mob attacks, using the political tools, and also the other agencies related with the government. According to a report of AP, more than 2,200 events are documented, and according to a report by Bangladesh Hindu Buddha Christian Oikya Porishad, it is nearly 3,000 events of that attack on the minorities, mostly Hindus and other Buddhist Christians, and also indigenous peoples. They burned their house, looted their properties, and they threatened their life. There are so many incidents of killings, rapes, and other injuries. There are so many events, and there is 10 months had been passed, and a so-called Nobel laureate who advocated for peace outside the country. There is no incident where government takes any sort of steps. There is no incident, any sort of judicial investigation. There is no instance that one criminal had been come under law. And whenever he was asked by the foreign media, because in Bangladesh, the local media cannot ask any question to the government actually. If you ask a opposing question, dissenting question to the government, you will have no voice actually. Your job will be sacked, your life will be under threat. These sort of things happen. And so when he was asked, and he was that he was trying to framing the situation politically. He was saying that this is they are the voters of Awami League, and by saying this, he is actually he is actually encouraging the mobs, encouraging the fundamental groups. And by framing this politically, he is that he is saying that the state will not take any sort of steps regarding these issues. And whenever these things happened, whenever there were attacks to the minorities, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, he actually that got some sort of blessing, some sort of welcoming message from the government. Actually, they did meet that the residents of Jamuna government residents of Yunus, he randomly meted with those people who are involved actually in the minority attacks cases. So this is the actual scenario. And another important thing is, just for being a Hindu, Many Hindu people job has been sacked. Many were that forced to resign, and just for being Hindu in our if you see the cases of the Bangladesh police services examinations, that is a demanded job in Bangladesh. Just for being Hindu, many passed the the written exam, the MCQ, the preliminary exam, and also in Viva, and also that all steps had been taken. So just for religious identity, his jobs had been sacked, and right now the situation is that the situation of the of Bangladesh is like that. The reality is in such a position that being victim is the only option remaining for the minority people of Bangladesh. And if you see that they are proclaiming reform, that thing, those things, they are saying, and one of the proposal of the reform is that abolishing secularism from the constitution, which is one of the bases of Bangladesh's constitution, which is the core ideology of liberation war, and which constitutional ideology ultimately that resulted in protecting the minorities of Bangladesh, and he's that he's abolishing that basis also as per their proposal. So, and if you see the the surrounding steps and who are involved in the toppling of the government, they do not believe in constitutionality. They do not believe in competitive politics. Actually, they believe in that a religious state. They believe that the other than Islam people, all people must be regarded as like a second class citizen, and they also do not believe in any sort of man-made law. They are proclaiming for that the Sharia law.
Yeah.
They are saying about Khilafat. They are that they are having the flag of the ISIS. There are so many incidents also mentioned in the international media.
But let me ask you, this is very radical and this is very Islamist. Now, does most of Bangladesh think this way, feel this way? Do Bangladesh Muslims actually think and feel, believe this way? Do they have so much of support on ground?
No, the people of Bangladesh is peace living. They believe in harmony. They believe in that interfaith relationship between different sort of communities, and the people of Bangladesh believes in the ideology of a liberal society, a democratic rule-based society. This is actually done by the government side and other the government-sponsored fundamental.
How big or how
groups.
strong are these fundamental groups?
These
They are
groups-
in power right now, yes, assumed power, however you would want to say it. But how big and strong is this constituency? So is it what? Do they have 20, 30% support of the population, 40% support, or is it bigger? How big is this entire constituency, this entire radical Islamist constituency,
and I
which is who are supporting Mohammed Yunus right now?
Yeah. Actually, they are assuming power. They are controlling the power. They are using the state machinery to oppress the minorities, to silencing their voices, to having gross human rights violation against those. So actually, by having the state machinery power, they are actually doing whatever they wish. Like in Afghanistan and other, that terrorist-based states. Also, many other incidents happen on many regions in the world. So the people of Bangladesh actually, they are peace loving, they are democratic loving.
So you're saying they don't have mass support? If,
No.
Let's say if there are elections tomorrow, proper, free, fair elections tomorrow, what is the vote percentage that Mohammed Yunus and the factions backing him will get on ground? Let's say if Awami League also participates. As of now, Awami League stands banned. Yeah.
They do not have any sort of vote percentage in Bangladesh's politics actually, and that if you evaluate the characteristics of Professor Yunus, he has some sort of democracy phobia actually. That the incidents of 2007 when there was a proposal of being a caretaker government chief, he was saying that he want to stay in power for long time, for 3 and 4 times, and in a interview just yesterday in Chatham House in London, he was saying that people do not understand the complex matters of politics or policy or democracy. The vote of the people can be, that you can buy the people's opinion. This was the, the view of that so-called Nobel laureate actually. And he also saying that when he was asked that whether reform can be done without the people's consideration, he was saying that people are not the stakeholder actually. The group of companies, the elitist groups, Yunus and his friends, the evil axis actually formed by him, they are the sole stakeholder of the country. They do not represented the people of Bangladesh. And if you see the scenario in Bangladesh right now, the primary education were shut down regarding their demands. This government tried to use the bureaucracy for their own purpose, using as a political tool to the bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy was shut down for
Yeah.
a few days. Also, there was chaos, there was instability, there was no safety for the women. There was, that right now the inflation rate of Bangladesh is the highest among South Asia. Our GDP, gross domestic product, is 3.3%, which is 36 years lowest in Bangladesh. And he got Nobel for eradicating poverty by his sayings. And under his 10 months leadership, that the economy has been collapsed, industry has been collapsed. There is no foreign investment. According to a report of World Bank, actually, that there are chances of being 1 crore people will be under the poverty line by this regime. So this is the actual scenario. This government has no connection with the government actually. They do not represent the people of Bangladesh. And if you see his foreign visits actually, in 10 months he visited 11 countries, and there were no outcome of the visit also. People are, that ridiculed the situation as saying that he is not behaving like a interim government chief. Rather, he is actually behaving like chief executive officer of his private business. That after coming in power, he taxed 15% to the people of Bangladesh for commodities, for their any other services, 50% tax. But his Grameen Bank, Grameen Telecom, and other, they got tax exemption
Exemption.
from the government. There were tax of 666 crore that was that due by the government. The government got this from the Grameen Bank, and that also has been exempted. There is lots of cases against him. All has been exempted, and he is a interim government chief. He that he gave permission to the new universities. He got permission to the digital banking or to his different groups. He gives license to other business works, and he's actually doing this. He's actually that using the state tools for his own private
Private gain.
business.
So it's brazen crony capitalism, if you were to say, Saddam. But let me also ask you. You said you had to leave Bangladesh within a month of this entire turmoil. Why did you have to leave? And if most of the leaders who are supposed to fight for the people have fled the country, how is there going to be any fight back or a people's movement?
We have to come back. We have to go back, and the struggle, the protest is going on. Our grassroots activists are continuing the ongoing movement process.
But you are banned as an outfit, aren't you? Awami League is banned, Chhatra League is banned.
Yeah.
So then can you operate? How are you negotiating that?
There is no actual basis of the so-called ban. This government itself is illegitimate. So there is, that from people's perspective, from democratic perspective, from neutral perspective, this ban has actually no value. And we are trying to reorganize. We are trying to have meetings. And if you see the scenario of Bangladesh Students League activities right now, this is Bangladesh right now under the leadership, under the rule of Yunus. Bangladesh is no country for students. Right now, for just becoming a activist of Bangladesh Student League, just being a supporter of Bangladesh Student League, or just being a friend with supporter of Bangladesh Students League, you are not permitted to the education go to the educational students. More than 5 lakh students currently in Bangladesh, they cannot go to the educational institutions, universities. they cannot participate in the exams, and many
It's
thousand.
because they support Chhatra League
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Awami.
yeah. Just because this, and there
But how is that democracy then?
there is no democracy actually in Bangladesh. Currently, Bangladesh, that is a totally fascist state where there is no democratic right to the people of Bangladesh. There is no separation of judiciary because judiciary is totally controlled by the government actually.
Let me ask you something. Is Muhammad Yunus a Bangladeshi citizen? I read a report somewhere where it says the top 10, 12 people who are currently running this interim government may have Bangladeshi origins, but they are all foreign nationals now.
Yeah, they have different sort of passports, and it is all actually proved many times. And who are actually running the show, and who are actually saying the reformation matters, who are actually dictating our security measures. They are actually not living in Bangladesh. They are actually for many times they living outside Bangladesh. Many countries holding passport of different countries also. Even the national security advisor, that he is a foreign citizen, and who is heading the constitutional reform commission. He is a foreign citizen, not a citizen of Bangladesh. And other several members of the cabinet, these illegal government, they are from the foreign. They hold foreign nationalities actually. So the show is actually running by
Foreign citizens. So
by
then
these
tell
groups.
me, do you have reasons to agree with the Prime Minister when she said that because the Americans wanted, or the white man who came to ask for the San Martin Islands air base for their air base, and I refused, and that's why this has come to pass? Are you willing to agree? Because Mohammad Yunus then took the student who was the student leader, took him to New York and said he's the one who orchestrated it for us, and he openly gave him credit. He ended up saying he orchestrated this whole thing under the garb of a student. So do you believe that there is a involvement of the American deep state in this?
What was said by Sheikh Hasina, it is proved time and again. And you know that she doesn't saying this after the toppling of the government. She is actually saying this before 5th August. She said it many times, even in the parliament. There was threat, there was that different sort of proposals by many states, DB states, and there were threat to that compromising the sovereignty. There were proposals regarding our national sovereignty, and she never compromised. She is an uncompromising leader, and if we
So she
evaluate.
was not dictatorial. Many people say that in trying to be a good leader, she was also dictatorial. She also tries to push through her agenda. She tried to suppress any opposition. She did not allow free and fair elections. And perhaps she became quite unpopular among the people of Bangladesh because there was dissonance on ground. And perhaps these groups tapped into that dissonance using the quota protests as. How would you respond to that?
Sheikh Hasina is the
That she
most
somewhere lost her way after 2015, 2016.
Sheikh Hasina is the most popular leader in Bangladesh. Actually, people from all walks of political beliefs, they have faith, they have sympathy, they have their compassion for Sheikh Hasina actually, because she was actually fight against that military dictatorship. She fight for constitutionally. She fight for the people's democratic rights. She fight for the responsibility of the government. She fight for rules-based society. She fight for women's empowerment. And if you evaluate the time from 2008 to 2015, Bangladesh is the only country, and Sheikh Hasina is the only prime minister in the democratic world who achieved all the goals of Millennium Development Goals and Sustainable Development Goals. She was regarded, that
So-
Planet 50/50 Award for Women Empowerment. She transformed Bangladesh in a digital Bangladesh. She changed the landscape of the economic situation in Bangladesh. Our per capita income has been hugely improved under her leadership.
So, if that was the case, why did she get toppled? Why was she ousted? So, was it because she was not willing to succumb to the American demands, or is it because geopolitically she started getting closer to Beijing and the growing Chinese influence in Bangladesh became a problem? How would you see it?
There was conspiracy.
Or her own internal misgovernance, inability to read the ground population mood, people's mood, and the current generation not understanding the liberation war, what Bangladesh has sacrificed, how it came into being, disconnected from their history, just about 50 years from when it all happened. Was this the factor? Was it external, internal? How was it? What was it?
There were both external and internal factor and situation, and there were conspiracy, and that there was several attempts to topple the government by using the fundamental groups, by using some political groups who have military training, who are that a believer of a religious state. They always try to do that, and there are also internal external factors which I already mentioned. And if you know that if they are saying many things about the previous government. If one government is popular or unpopular, you have to evaluate by the election, by what is the actual opinion of the people. So if you are courageous enough, if you are confident enough, then you can challenge in any election and have your voice, and you can unseat any political government. Awami League is not unseated by that popular uprising also. Awami League was not unseated by electoral mandate also, also not on constitutionally process. So it is actually conspiracy who is ultimately reigning now. And there are many factors, many external factors who try to do this sort of works, and political opposite political groups, they played their parts. Underworlds, fundamental groups, terrorist organizations, they played their part, and by these things actually situations
What happens
happen.
next? Now, BNP is in conversation with Mohammad Yunus. There is some talk about elections before Ramadan in April 2026. The army has turned around and said that we want elections before December 2025. What happens next? And will the Awami League be in any position to contest elections now that you are a banned organization or banned politically? So, what happens next?
The people of Bangladesh has no other option other than removal of the government, because for restoring democracy, for constitutionally mandated government, and for people's voice must be heard, we have no other option other than the removal of the current government. And you know that by banning Bangladesh Awami League, who is the creator of the country actually, who is lead the independent movement, and who is got most electoral verdict in the most of the national elections in Bangladesh. And when you are banning Bangladesh Awami League, you are actually that alienating the majority people of the Bangladesh. You are actually disenfranchising the most of the people of Bangladesh. And also, if you talk about competitive democracy, if you want about peaceful transfer of power, so you are actually making the situation more unstable. You are creating political vacuum.
How is this government going to be removed? Because it's been prompted because of external influence. There is support of the American deep state. It could not have happened had the army itself, Bangladesh army itself, not supported. Is the Bangladesh army radicalized?
No, the Bangladesh army, that they are the symbol of sovereignty and independence of Bangladesh. Right now, situation, if you see neutrally, this becomes such a country where army want early elections, and the government itself saying that the election should be delayed. So army, they are actually trying to discredit the Bangladesh army
There was
also.
a talk about a coup against the army chief itself to unseat him by some radical groups or radical elements within the Bangladesh army. So that's why I'm asking you: is the Bangladesh army radicalized?
No,
Or
I don't think so.
don't
They are actually discrediting the army, and they are taking such sort of decisions like corridor, like port decisions. They are saying themselves interim government, and they are doing this sort of jobs. And without consulting Bangladesh army, who are integral part of the sovereignty, national security. They didn't talk with them. They didn't talk with the army and appointed a national advisor.
But the army support, without the army support, whatever happened couldn't have happened. Yes, the army was instrumental, and also Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina finding egress or exit out of Dhaka. That's also true. But what happens now? Now, will the army come back and support the Awami League? Or does the US deep state have to now pull its hands off and send Yunus into a free fall? or is there going to be another uprising in Bangladesh, people's movement? Now, or will all of that happen simultaneously? How do you see this happening, and how much longer in the horizon?
I think mass movement is obvious in Bangladesh. It is going to happen. A popular uprising for democracy, for popular uprising for human rights, for women empowerment, for minority security. It is going to happen, and they banned Bangladesh Awami League. Bangladesh Awami League was banned by Yahya Khan, Ayub Khan, and this time Yunus. Every time they banned Awami League comes stronger, and Awami League fight for the people's right actually. And this time it will also happen. And I do believe there was growing consensus also by the international community regarding inclusive election, regarding establishing democracy in Bangladesh. And most of the foreign governments, if you see, they try to that get a bit far from the government actually. The visit of the UK we mentioned it.
Right.
And what you are saying about the BNP and government meeting. I think it is actually a show of compromise for power. That they are a country cannot be run by doing some sort of elitist meetings and excluding the majority, excluding the voice of the people. And this is actually you can say marriage of convenience, not principle. Actually, BNP is focusing on that ensuring their electoral dominance without talking about fair, free, and neutral election.
So they're not testing their electoral dominance. They're just trying to claim it and put it out
they're trying to take the advantage.
Take the advantage. Okay, last final 2-3 questions, and then I know you have also got limited time. Where is the Prime Minister, and is she active or has she gone into hibernation? Is there a leadership succession plan within the Awami League? One. And two, is Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina actively involved and engaging with members, leaders, cadre of the Awami League even now?
Not from a partisan point of view. Sheikh Hasina is the symbol of resilience right now. She is the inspiration of our democratic movement. She is the face of reclaiming the legacy of liberation war actually. And after 5 August, that she continuously, in communication with the grassroots activists, she is focusing on that uniting the party members for ensuring the safety of the people of Bangladesh, not only Awami League activists. That her focus is all her fellow countrymen.
So she's still in touch.
Yeah, she is still in touch with all the people of Bangladesh.
And what is her message?
She's focusing on that uprising and mass movement and for securing the life of the people of Bangladesh, for restoring democracy, establishing human rights, championing Bangladesh, and reclaiming the legacy of liberation war is a prime concern.
Will she get global support? Is there global support building up for Sheikh Hasina?
It is continuously.
Because I know Awami League members are spread across the world. You are doing your work on ground. So I'm asking you, is there support for her or?
Obviously, there were huge support, and if you see the scenario of Bangladesh, the people are saying, whether they are involved in other political parties, they are saying that for securing stability in Bangladesh, for having development in Bangladesh, for having democracy in Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina is the only choice. So the people, that will ultimately make it happen. The comeback of Sheikh Hasina, and another historical political comeback in the political landscape of Bangladesh.
You think it will happen?
It will happen, obviously.
We are counting down to 2 months, less than 2 months to 5th of August 2025. Nearly a year since all of that happened. So will something turn in the course of the next 2 months, 4 months, 6 months?
I think the situation will unfold day by day. Bangladesh is a prison actually right now, a greater prison. There is no voice of the citizen. People cannot say anything. Your only liberation in Bangladesh is now supporting the government. So people are against this current fascist regime, and they are trying to come back. They are trying to have their voice to be heard. They are trying to assemble. And I think people will have their victory ultimately.
What is your expectation from Bharat, from Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Do you have any?
India is the largest democratic country in the world and the economic superpower, and they are already supporting. I do believe they're supporting the Bangladeshi people in a greater sense. And I the all as a youth, as a student representative, as a citizen of Bangladesh, I do believe for restoring democracy, for restoring stability in Bangladesh, for having inclusive election in Bangladesh, for make an end to this authoritarian regime, to stop the gross human rights violation, to ensure the security of the minority. India will work with the international community so that the right of the people Bangladesh must be reserved, must be preserved.
So your demand is to try and enable free and fair elections in Bangladesh from
Right.
Bharat.
The focus is restoring democracy and
Restoring
removal of the government.
restoring democracy and removal of the government. The other part is Mr. Mohammed Yunus has said a few things about China when he was in Beijing, about Bharat, the northeast of our country, and some conversations, opinions. Does that find traction? Do you agree with him, disagree with him?
No, there is no chance of agreeing with him. He is, he is prioritizing his personal agenda over national interest. Actually, under the leadership of Awami League and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, we have shared history. Actually, shared sacrifice, mutual cooperation, mutual understanding, energy cooperation, trade cooperation in every matter. And Bangladesh, we solved the problem on the basis of mutual understanding, whether it is maritime boundary, land boundary issues, trade issues. And Bangladesh, the people of Bangladesh got benefited by these decisions. Actually, we get many sort of trade advantages in the country. There are energy cooperation between the situation. And what decision taken by Professor Yunus, he is actually risking a economic isolation. Actually, we already affected the people of Bangladesh, and by saying such things, which ultimately which ultimately resulted in a unstable South Asia. He is saying those things which are risking our regional stability, peace, and harmony. Actually, and which he is taking that sort of decision. By doing that, he is actually inviting external influence in our own country. He is compromising Bangladesh's sovereignty for for securing his power, and he is playing his anti-India card. He is trying to give blessing to the fundamental groups for his own power. Actually,
This entire proximity with Pakistan, forgetting the Razakars, forgetting the history. My final question: does it hurt you? Do you think somewhere there has been a mistake that the current generation of Bangladesh, current generation of Bharat, and this entire region has not been made to remember and understand the liberation war, 1971?
I do believe that our citizens, they have beliefs, they have their dreams on the basis of liberation war, actually. But there are also certain political groups who played the role in who played role against our liberation movement, who were part of as the auxiliary force of the Pakistan army, who were the planner, designer, and executioner of war crimes during 1971. And they were still remaining in Bangladesh, and they were getting political blessings also. Other major political parties have relationship with them, and they have also relationship with other terrorist organizations, mostly ISI and Pakistan based. So they are actually doing their work. They are campaigning. They are using propaganda. They are trying to use religion as a political tool. So I have faith in people. I have faith in a young generation. I have faith in future also. That the fight is going on, and it is not end actually. And the legacy of liberation war will be the supreme thing in Bangladesh.
Will be the supreme thing. So, final question: next 6 months, 1 year, you look ahead with hope or with despair?
With hope, with conviction, with belief that the last 10 months is not the ultimate political calendar of Bangladesh. It will be changed, and democracy will be restored.
Well said. Saddam Hussain, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.